Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster, and before I start I just wanted to mention there's a fair bit of background noise going on around sort of my workshop at the moment today. Hopefully it's not going to pick up too badly on the microphone, but if it does I apologise. Hopefully you should still be able to hear me okay. Now what I wanted to do today was a quick video, a bit of an update really on my ESEE6 that I did a video about a little while ago. I've had a little bit of result, and my friend who has sort of given me the loan of it, we've basically come to an arrangement. There were a few bits of equipment that I had that I was looking to pass on, either sell or trade or what have you, and there was a few bits he needed. So I am now the proud owner of the ESEE6. It's now mine to do with as I wish. Which is great news for me. And what I wanted to do, and today's going to be the first of a series of videos on modifying this ESEE6. Now I've not modified a knife before. I normally just use them out of the box, but I've seen a few videos online. I've seen a few sort of threads on web forums and things like that, and I've always fancied giving it a go. And as I've got this knife essentially for nothing, because it was just kit I had lying around, I thought I'd sort of take the plunge and give it a go. Now I'm sure there's going to be some people on here, you know, in the comments and what have you, that will look at potentially what I'm doing as some kind of sacrilege, you know, ruining a perfectly good knife, and I certainly hope it doesn't turn out that way, though happy to hear your comments and criticisms if there are any. But essentially what I'm going to do, I mean, this is the knife. Hopefully you'll recognise it from the previous video. All I've done so far is just taken the handles off temporarily, and the first thing I'm going to do, and the sort of the theme of this video, if you like, is I'm going to strip off this black sort of painted protective coating. Now I'm sure there's a few people screaming at the screen right now, saying, you know, that this coating is there to protect the blade, that's what it's designed for, and I don't disagree. However, I'm not a big fan of coated knives. The reason I had this, I've wanted this knife for a while anyway, but the reason I went with this one is because it was available to me at the time. You know, like I said, I've just managed to sort out a deal for it, so I'm just going to give it a go. So what I'm going to do, let me just bring the camera a bit closer into what I've got set up here. We'll make a start and I'll take you through it. Right then guys, so this is my setup. I've just got a piece of tin foil that I've folded over a few times and made sort of like almost like a little tray with. Piece of kitchen paper in there as well, just to catch some of the liquid. And this, which is just an off-the-shelf paint stripper. And I've made a couple of little spreaders just out of some scrap wood that I had. And what I'm going to do is just give a good generous coating of this paint stripper all over one side of this blade, just to make a start on getting this coating off. Now I've seen this done dozens of times with lots of different knives online, and it will not damage the blade in any way. All it will do is just remove this painted coating. And what you want to do, you want to put a fairly sort of liberal amount on here, and then just use whatever you've got to hand. I wouldn't recommend using a brush or anything like that unless you want to throw the brush away afterwards, because all it will do is eat into the bristles. But just apply a really good coating all over the blade, and then essentially just leave it to sit. That's all you want to do. You know, this part of the process in itself is really, really simple. All you do, apply like so, and leave it to do its work. Now I'm going to give that probably about 10 minutes, and what I'll do, I'll cut back once that's had a good time to start working on the paint, and we'll come back and see how we're getting on. Right then guys, well, it's been about 10 minutes, and there's not a great deal happening. The paint is starting to loosen up a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see this well or not, but the actual ESEE logo, I've had a little bit of a rub with my scraper, and I've taken the paint away and exposed all the laser etching that's beneath, which I'm quite pleased with. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this for a bit longer. Actually, reading the tin, it does say that it can take up to around 40 minutes, so I'm going to leave that a bit longer. But while I'm doing that, I'm just going to very carefully, if I can, flip over the blade. It's still coated on one side, and I'm just going to apply another coat to the other side while we're waiting. And what I meant to say before, guys, and if anybody is considering doing this, just bear in mind that this paint, or in fact any paint stripper, is particularly nasty stuff. You want to make sure you don't get any of this on your skin. What you really should be doing is wearing gloves, which I realise I'm not, though I will be putting a pair on when it comes to taking this stuff off, because you know this is it's an irritant. It can burn your skin if it gets on there and stays on there for any particular length of time, and also the vapours off this are also not very healthy for you. So I'm in my workshop, I've got the door wide open, I'm not sitting next to this for any length of time while it's doing its stuff. Obviously I'm sitting here just now while I'm applying it, talking to you guys, but just make sure that you read the instructions carefully, that you know what you can and can't do with this stuff. And as I say, what I'm going to do, once I've got this applied on this side, so it's now working both sides sort of in tandem, I'm going to leave this for probably half an hour now, just to let it sort of work its magic, start loosening up that paint, and then I'll come back, and what we can do is then take the scrapers and maybe some tissue, and hopefully the paint should just rub straight off. And what we should be left with, and having seen another couple of videos of this online, my understanding is that these blades are either sand or bead blasted before the coating's put on. That obviously helps the coating adhere, but it should be a really nice looking blade underneath. I'm still undecided whether or not I'm going to refinish the blade in another style. I have considered maybe gum gluing it, which I've done to a couple of knives in the past, but to be honest I'm going to wait and see how this turns out. I'm probably going to do a few mods on the handle and a few other bits, and I'll see how that all comes together first, and then I may consider doing a different finish. But we'll come back in a short while, guys, and I'll show you how the paint stripper's got on. Right guys, so that's been sitting there for just over an hour now. I thought I'd give it a little bit longer just so it could do its work. And hopefully you can just about see on the camera here, I've just given it a little scrape with one of these scrapers, and the paint's coming off really well and easily. So what I'm going to do, just to give you an example, I'm just going to drag this scraper across now, and straight away, quite a lot of this paint is coming off. It's by no means difficult, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to spend 5 or 10 minutes just scraping back all of this paint. I won't bore you on the camera because it's quite repetitive and mundane, and I'll come back once everything's been removed. One thing I did want to say just very quickly before that, if you are going to do this yourself, I'd recommend either making up some little wooden scrapers, or using something that's maybe plastic, but don't use anything metal. The reason being, you can get metal paint scrapers, which are fine for if you're decorating indoors, but what I don't want to do is do any damage to this sort of bead blasted finish internally, because if I start using metal it's just going to scratch into it and it won't look as nice. So just a little tip from my side, if you are going to do this with a knife, try and use something soft enough that it won't scratch the metal. But anyway, leave this with me guys. I'll come back in 5 or 10 minutes time and I'll show you what the finished blade looks like. Right then guys, so we're now done. I have completely removed the paint finish, and it's turned out reasonably well. I did have to resort to using a scouring pad just to get a few little bits off that wouldn't come off, so there's a couple of little scuffs on here but nothing to write home about. The laser etching has come through really well, and as I said, it's sort of a bead blasted finish, but as you can see here, it's not a bad looking blade. I personally really like it. I prefer this kind of bead blasted finish to the paint job that it had before, so I really am quite pleased with it. Now whether or not I do something to this blade later on in terms of giving it another type of finish, I haven't decided yet, but time will tell. And what I'm planning on doing for the next video in this series, I'm going to do some work on the handles. Now the handles for this knife are made from micarta, which is a really nice material to modify. You could do various different things in it. I have a few ideas in my head of what I might do, but I'll go more into that in the next video. But guys, I hope it was useful. Click like and subscribe if you want to see more. Comments in the box below, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Thanks guys.